Welcome to your ultimate survival explainer for navigating the high-stakes, literally sweat-inducing world of 2026 climate engineering. If your living space currently feels like a terrarium for exotic reptiles, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're taking a highly professional, yet hopefully hilarious look at how to stop living in a swamp. Let's get right into it. Here is our battle plan for today. We're covering the Psychrometric Survival Guide, the Compressor versus Desiccant Showdown, 2026 Tech Paradigms, Global Brand Engineering Philosophies, and finally, Expert Sizing and Insider Traps. Section 1. The Psychrometric Survival Guide. Let's start with the basic lore of why your house currently feels like the inside of a warm, wet sweater, and why that's actually a massive engineering failure. So, the Psychrometric Imperative. That is really just a highly technical, ridiculously fancy way of saying that humidity physically disables your body's natural cooling system. It traps the heat right against your skin, causing immense misery and making you feel way hotter than the thermostat actually claims. Honestly, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. Science actually backs up your grandpa on that one. The whole point here is this: let the machine sweat so you don't have to. By actively forcing your indoor relative humidity to stay strictly between 40 and 60%, you're not just optimizing your own thermal comfort, you're brutally crushing any aspiring mold spores and protecting your home's actual structural integrity. It's a total win-win. Section 2. Compressor versus Desiccant Showdown. Now that we know our enemy, it's time to choose our weapons in the war against moisture. To fight back, modern units rely on two completely different thermodynamic topologies to pull water out of your environment. And listen, you have to pick the right one or you're literally just throwing money into a puddle. Think of compressors as your heavy-duty, warm weather warriors. They run on refrigerants, they pull air over cold coils to condense water, and they're absolutely incredible for standard room temperatures. Desiccants, on the other hand, are your cold weather stealth specialists. They use this slow-rotating honeycomb wheel filled with moisture-absorbing chemicals, completely bypassing the need to freeze anything. Pretty cool, right? Now, why does this difference actually matter? Because of this specific number right here, 15 degrees Celsius, or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature is your critical survival threshold. If your damp, creepy basement drops below this, a standard compressor's coils will literally freeze into a solid block of ice. Boom. Game over. At that point, a desiccant system is absolutely your only viable weapon. Section 3. The 2026 Tech Paradigms. Look, if you haven't shopped for dehumidifiers recently, things have changed. We're talking massive paradigm shifts. We've got incredibly efficient R290 propane refrigerants with a global warming potential of just 3. That is down from over 2,000. We have AI algorithms constantly pulling in data from VOC and particulate sensors to optimize your comfort. Plus, Matter protocol integration means this gear ties seamlessly into your smart home without any clunky proprietary cloud junk. And true HEPA and UVC purification, yeah, they have that too, because let's face it, wet air is dirty air. Section 4. Global Brand Engineering Philosophies. You need to know which global faction builds the exact right gear for your specific climate war. The Americas faction is all about pure, unadulterated brute force, large footprints, and massive capacity. Brands like AprilAire completely dominate whole house ducting, seamlessly integrating right into your home's central HVAC. Meanwhile, Frigidaire brings that heavy-duty standalone muscle, packing built-in pumps that are absolutely perfect for blasting the moisture out of massive, subterranean basements. Contrast that with the European faction. They design for smaller, highly insulated spaces and agonizingly damp winters. I honestly like to call them the acoustic ninjas. Meaco from the UK absolutely masters near-silent, cold-weather desiccants. DeLonghi makes units so incredibly gorgeous you'll actually want them as living room centerpieces. And Woods literally builds machines with galvanized steel chassis and high-torque fans just to survive rapidly drying laundry in a freezing Nordic utility room. That is hardcore. Finally, the Asian faction brings pure sci-fi tech to high-density living. LG gives us dual-inverter compressors that balance each other out for ultra-low vibration. We're talking under 33 decibels of noise. Panasonic serves up hybrid machines using AI to instantly switch between compressor and desiccant modes. And Mitsubishi, get this, their units have literal infrared sensors that physically scan your room, detect your wet clothes, and shoot a targeted beam of dry air directly at them. I mean, come on, that is glorious engineering. Section 5. expert sizing, and insider traps. This is the absolute most important part of our explainer, where we learn how to avoid the extremely expensive booby traps that catch amateur buyers every single day. Seriously, you might want to screenshot this sizing matrix right now. Matching the precise engineering specs to your specific environmental load is the only way to guarantee victory over humidity. You don't put a tiny 20-pint compressor in a massive damp basement, and you absolutely don't put a high-capacity compressor in a freezing garage. You've got to match the tech to the room. Let's play a quick game. Say you bought a massive, expensive dehumidifier for your cold basement, but the room is still damp, and somehow your energy bill is totally skyrocketing. What happened? Well, my friend, you just fell headfirst into the most common beginner trap in the entire industry. It's called the Defrost Trap, and the inefficiency is brutal. Remember, if your room is below 59 degrees Fahrenheit, standard units just freeze up. To survive, they shut off their compressor and just run the fan to slowly melt their own ice. They waste 30% of their runtime doing absolutely nothing to dry your air, all while burning your electricity. If your basement is cold, buy a desiccant or buy a unit with a hot gas defrost valve. Period. End of story. Here's another trap that catches people constantly, forgetting that gravity always wins. If you attach a drain hose to your unit and try to run it up into a sink or out a basement window, standard gravity drains will fail instantly. Even a tiny 1-inch rise causes the water to back up, trips the float switch, and completely shuts off your machine. If the water has to go up, you absolutely must buy a unit with a built-in condensate pump. Now here's an incredible insider secret. Oversizing your unit is actually vastly superior. Unlike an air conditioner, which can get all weird and short cycle if it's too big, an oversized dehumidifier just hits your target humidity much faster, and then it shuts off. That saves you immense compressor wear and keeps your room blissfully quiet for way longer. Oh, and whatever you do, beware of the pints per day, or PPD, confusion. A while back, the U.S. Department of Energy radically changed how they test these machines, dropping the test temperature from 80 degrees down to 65. Because of this sneaky change, a 70-pint machine from the old standard is exactly the same capacity as a 50-pint unit today. So always make sure you're actually comparing apples to apples when you're shopping. Ultimately, we've moved so far past basic, rattling plastic appliances. As you can see, modern dehumidifiers in 2026 are truly interconnected environmental control systems. They dictate the structural health of your walls, the purity of the air in your lungs, and the overall thermal comfort of your entire home. They are absolute game changers. So I'll leave you with this. With AI-driven sensors, massive HEPA purification, and whisper-quiet dual-inverter tech now literally sitting at your fingertips, isn't it time you stopped treating indoor humidity as a mild nuisance and started engineering it out of your life like a true pro? Which faction will you choose to protect your home? Have a think on that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today, and hey, stay dry out there.